I think we're ready to go. This is vk3sl test missions on 160. I can hear myself. Why can I hear myself in here? What's on? Something is on. Okay, that's not entirely satisfactory. I shouldn't be able to hear myself on the monitor speakers, and I'm not quite sure why. Okay, well, we'll turn down that level, and we'll have to investigate this. There's something happening. There's a relay not kicking in or something. That's okay. I can turn off the monitor speaker, and we can look at things in due course. Anyhow, where were we? Bess, back again. Corona missions on 160 metres. Test missions, of course. There's nothing else to it. It's just one big indulgence. We all know that. There is a YouTube stream, though, as well. So, yes, if you want to be entertained, go there. Go to vk3sl as a dedicated YouTube channel, and that's where there is a... that's where the party's happening. That's the party vibe on YT. Otherwise, you need to be very serious, because we're just doing tone tests for volume and clarity. There's nothing else to it. We have had some developments today, though. I have been really busy today, and frustratingly busy, because a package arrived and I've been wanting to get into this package, but I only just quickly sorted that out about 5 minutes ago. And what I have here is a remote RF mains power controller. In fact, there's 3 little modules and a remote control, and it means that the turntables on the other side of the room now have remote access, so I can operate them from the desk. It's just going to make things so much easier if it works. I've had a few sort of glitches along the way setting this up. It's not quite as straightforward as I hoped. Some of them use the same frequency, and I'm not quite sure if this controller is entirely yes, as it should be, but that's okay. We'll give it a go. We'll try it out now. So this means I can be really authentic. I've got 2 turntables on the other side of the room set up with the tone arms ready. They're all cued, ready to go. And all it needs is a click of a button, and then we'll hopefully have an instant start. Now, I realised when I was testing that these old CE turntables were very lazy and slow to start, and I thought it might have been the motor start capacitors, but then I took the putters off and realised that there's a bit of grunge from the idler wheel has built up, and I think they're slipping a bit. So a little bit of alcohol, isopropyl alcohol, to give it a wipe, and I think they are ready for a faster start. So yeah, we're always trying to find new horizons here. This is the way. So what have we got first? And this is fun. I'm at the desk. What do we have? We've got Taking a Chance of Love. This is Benny Goodman and his orchestra, a recording made in the late 1930s. This is vk3sl comprehensively testing.
The cards were a
vk3sl testing on 160, and we're just working with a new turntable arrangement whereby we can remotely operate these two old CE tables on the other side of the room. This room didn't develop in a particularly ergonomic way. It sort of mainly developed because of functional concerns and having to squeeze a lot of things into a small space, and it's not ideal in terms of being able to reach the turntables and being able to operate the desk. So having a remote function is just a wonderful luxury. I'm pretty excited about this, so I reckon we are onto a good thing. Now, what else? I think we've got another record now. This one is on the other table, and again, it's remotely set up. So all I need to do is push button D, and then we'll have Echoes of Harlem with Duke Ellington. This is vk3sl testing. vk3sl test missions on 160 metres, and we've been listening to the music of Duke Ellington and his band, a track called Echoes of Harlem. Recorded in the 1930s, we're sort of mining the swing shelf at the moment, mainly records from the 30s, and trying out this new turntable arrangement. It's been quite I think it's got prospect, actually. I'm reasonably happy so far. So far, so good. And we've been able to recover some of the faster start functions on the old C tables. And I've just got to work out exactly what that threshold is so we don't get a bad start at the beginning. So yes, it's all a question of getting used to new parameters. But yeah, it seems to be going well. Now, I put another one on the table now. So I've just done a queue up right this moment, and we've got turntable number 1 ready to go. And all I need to do is click, click, and we'll hear Lionel Hampton and his sextet with Fiddly Dee. The sound of the vibes. Lionel Hampton and the orchestra with Fiddly Dee, recording made back in the late 1930s. Test missions here on 160 metres, and we are just mining the archive and trying out new systems. Yesterday we tried out a different microphone. We dug out this ancient MD409. It's an old Sennheiser. I can switch it in. I can give you a sample so you can hear what it sounds like. There we go, that's it here. vk3sl testing on the old Sennheiser. This was found on the council cleanup. This microphone is a little bit, hasn't quite got the body of the SM58, but it's a good alternative, and it means we can mic switch if we get a bit bored. So there we go, there are options abound here at this station, and of course this is the platform to try things out. Trying things out in the afternoons, late afternoons, to ameliorate the boredom and all of the crazy work stuff that just completely absorbs me. It's nice to have an outlet, and music is a good way forward. Alright, so is OTR, and I've been looking through various source material lists, and I found a recording of D24. I've just been for a walk and we're discussing radio serials, so I reckon this is a good time to have a listen to one. D24. This is vk3sl.
The Victoria Police Force presents D24. From the files of the Victoria Police, for the first time come these true stories of unceasing war against crime, of day and night vigilance that protects our life and our property. and of the nerve center of the Police Information Bureau, D24.
D24 calling car 21. Car 21.
Car 21. Car 21 to D24. Yes, D24.
There's a woman being attacked in a lane off Osborne Street, South Melbourne, 21. Investigate, please.
This is the true story of the eyewitness. This is a true story from the files of the Victoria Police. Only names, place names, and dates have been altered. This is a most unusual story. It's also a fine example of painstaking, determined police work. We're not going to dwell on the crime, for it was a particularly unpleasant one. Instead, we want to take you step by step with the police as they solved a most puzzling murder. It happened in South Melbourne one Saturday afternoon during the Second World War. The first the police knew about it was when a man phoned D24 and advised them of a disturbance in a narrow lane. D24 immediately took action.
D24 calling car 21. Car 21.
Car 21. Car 21 to D24. Yes, D24.
There's a woman being attacked in a lane off Osborne Street, South Melbourne, 21. Will you investigate, please? We're advising ambulance. The time now is 15:58. Over.
Right, D24. We're on the way. This must be the place.
Yes, there she is, lying about 30 yards up.
Come on. Looks pretty bad, doesn't she? Someone's done a very thorough job.
Still breathing?
Only just. See if there's a name in that handbag over there, friend.
Right.
And you take what measurements you can of her position, Bill, as quickly as possible.
Okay.
We'll have to get her to hospital as soon as the ambulance turns up.
Give me a hand, will you, Tom? Here's an identity card, Senior.
Let's see. Margaret Champion, Dorcas Street, South Melbourne, eh? Well, she's a local anyway. Better pick up her hat, Fred. And what's that lying near her head?
It looks like a man's handkerchief.
I'll take that, too. Here's the ambulance, chap, so get a move on. Anything else lying around that could be useful?
Oh, doesn't look like it. Unless you want that great bluestone paving stone that's right beside her.
Shouldn't think it'd be of much use. The whole heap of them further down the lane.
Wonder why this one's up this end on its own.
Search me. Kid's been playing with it, I suppose.
Kids? Take a pretty hefty kid to lift that. Must weigh half a hundredweight at least.
Well, I don't see what's got to do with us. No blood or anything on it, is there?
No, not that I can see.
Oh, we'll leave it.
What's the score, Constable?
Not too sure, but she's been pretty badly knocked about.
Can we move her into the ambulance now?
Yes, you'd better, quick as you can.
Right. Come on, Harry. Okay.
Fred,
Yes, Senior.
report back to D24, will you? Let them know what's happened and tell them it's a job for the CIB.
Right.
Bill,
Yes?
you ride in the ambulance with the woman and see what the doctors have to say.
All right.
Meanwhile, we'll see if anyone can give us some information.
But when the men from the CIB arrived on the scene, the patrolmen could give them little further information. Someone suggested that the injured woman had been drinking at a nearby hotel, but that was about all. No one came forward with anything really useful. Late into the night and all through the following day, inquiries went on. And then, early on the Monday morning, Margaret Champion died. The CIB had a murder in its hands. And so on the Monday morning, detectives again made a painstaking search in the lane in the hope of finding even the smallest clue.
Well, if there's a clue anywhere around here, it's too well hidden for me.
There's only one thing we haven't done.
What?
Check on this garage place that runs almost the entire length of the lane.
Yeah, I doubt if we'll get much out there. It was closed all Saturday afternoon, wasn't it?
Yes, all yesterday, too. But we'll check on it all the same.
All right. Let's go in the side door. Noisy place, isn't it?
Oh, sir. Anyone about?
Young chap under that old truck. Try him first. Hey. Hey, son.
Speak up, he'll never hear you.
Hey, son. Hey. Come out from there, will you? We want to talk to you.
Just a sec. What do you want?
We're police from the CIB.
Hey,
We're police. Where's your boss?
where's what?
Where's your boss?
Out.
Well, who's in charge here?
I dunno.
Oh, look, come outside for a minute. We can't talk here.
Righto.
That's better. Now, look, son, we're detectives from the CIB.
Oh,
We're investigating a murder in this lane on Saturday afternoon.
you mean the woman died?
I'm afraid so. Early this morning.
Crikey. Didn't know it was as bad as that.
Oh, you've heard about it, have you?
Heard about it? I reckon I saw the whole thing happen.
Detectives are used to shocks, but those handling this case could hardly believe their ears when the young motor mechanic claimed to have actually seen the murder. But the lad was emphatic.
I was working back, see, me and Bert Marshall. I had an urgent job to finish, and I never did mind a bit of overtime anyway.
Yes.
Well, we just got the job done, see, and I was coming down the back of the garage to clean up a bit, see? And just as I was passing the side door, I heard a noise coming from the lane.
What sort of noise?
It was a woman. She was singing out a bit.
What was she saying?
Something like, "Don't do it."
And, what did you do?
Well, there's a bit of a crack in the door. Look, see where those boards don't fit too well.
Yes, I do.
So I decided to have a squiz of what was going on outside. So I looked through the crack in the door.
And what was going on?
There was a man and a woman there, and they was fighting. He was knocking her about pretty bad, and she fell over.
Yeah.
Well, I didn't know what to do. It's none of my business. Well, I thought it was just a couple of drunks or a bloke beating up his missus or something. The drunks often come up this way on Saturday afternoon, so I just watched them for a few minutes.
Yeah, I see. And then?
Then, after a bit, I went and told my mate Bert what was going on. And he came down and had a look too.
Was the fight still going on?
Well, no, it wasn't. The woman was just lying there and the bloke was looking at her. Then Bert said we ought to call the coppers, and off he went.
Or was it Bert who called at the police station?
No, it wasn't. He went across the street to where Mr. Smith lives, and Mr. Smith come over and had a look through the crack of the door himself.
Oh, yes, yes.
By this time, the bloke in the lane had walked away a bit, but the woman was still there.
So what did you do then?
I just stayed watching. But Mr. Smith said he was going to the police station.
And Bert?
Oh, I don't know where he went, but he pushed off somewhere.
So that you were left on your own?
Yes. And that was when I saw the bloke walking back up the lane carrying one of those great rocks.
Those what?
He was carrying one of those bluestone rocks.
What, you mean a block of stone like that one lying over there?
Yeah. I reckon that was the block he was carrying.
Why?
'Cause that's just about the place the woman was lying.
Yes.
And the bloke just walked up to her, held the block of stone as high as he could over her head, and dropped it.
And you saw all this happen and did nothing about it?
What was I supposed to do?
Well, you might have called out or something.
Yeah. Yeah, I suppose I might.
You might have saved that woman's life.
Yeah.
Well, however, it's too late now. But tell me, do you think you could recognize the man again?
Well, reckon I could.
Well, you were watching him for quite a while, weren't you?
Reckon I was.
Then could you describe him to us?
Describe him?
Yes, tell us what he was wearing, the colour of his hat.
He wasn't wearing a hat.
Well, the colour of his hair, anything like that might help us find him.
Want me to describe him now?
Yes, we do. And try to remember every detail. The smallest thing might be very important.
Armed with the valuable information given to them by the young motor mechanic, the detectives started off on a search for the man he described. One of their first tasks was to advise police everywhere of the wanted man's description. And D24 flashed the details throughout the state.
Here's the wanted man's description. About 5 feet 10 inches tall, strong build, dark hair, very sunburned complexion. Last seen wearing navy blue suit, open-neck blue shirt with collar attached, black shoes or boots. I'll repeat that description.
Sunburnt complexion, navy blue suit, blue shirt, black shoes or boots.
Is a test transmission.
Of course, there were scores of men in Melbourne who
vk3sl.
could answer that description, but it was a start in the right direction. The movements of dozens of likely suspects were checked. Every now and again, something would turn up that looked really promising, but always the leads were false. And then, nearly a fortnight later, Detective Sergeant Williams was called urgently to the city morgue.
You're looking for a man in connection with the murder of Margaret Champion, aren't you, Sergeant?
That's right.
Well, just an hour ago, a man was brought in from the Yarra. He'd been in the river quite a while, but in some ways he resembles the description of the man you're looking for.
Yeah, does he? Could he be identified, do you think?
Afraid not. But his build is something like the man you want. And have a look at this blue shirt.
Where'd you get that?
It was in the dead man's pocket. Wasn't your man wearing a blue shirt?
Yes, he was.
And here's another thing.
A pawn ticket.
Yes. It's almost indecipherable now, but you can just see the address of the pawnbroker if you look carefully. And there's one very interesting thing about it.
Oh?
Yes. The date's still on it. It's the date of the Monday after the murder.
Was this to be the end of the search? Had the murderer drowned himself rather than face the consequences of his crime? In just a few moments, we'll continue this true story from the files of the Victoria Police. This is a true story from the files of the Victoria Police. Only names, place names, and dates have been altered. The discovery of the drowned body of a man answering to the general description of the murderer of Margaret Champion was of intense interest to the investigating detectives, particularly as it had in his possession a blue shirt. The eyewitness to the murder had stated that the killer had been wearing a blue shirt. Taking the pawn ticket that had been found in the dead man's pocket, the detectives hurried to interview the pawnbroker. And now it seemed the trail was really getting hot, for the pawnbroker gave them some extremely interesting information.
Yes, I know the bloke I gave that ticket to.
Yes.
A fellow by the name of Jack Ross. Comes from Sydney.
And what did he pawn here?
A suit?
What sort of suit?
A navy blue suit.
Jim, I want you to have a good look at this suit.
Yeah,
Well, go on, look at it.
I'm looking.
You ever seen it before?
I don't know. Just looks like a blue suit to me.
Do you think it could possibly be the blue suit the man we're looking for was wearing on the afternoon of the murder?
Might be. I don't know.
Now, Jim, this might be the answer to our whole problem. Do try to help.
Oh, I am trying. But you can't tell from just a crumpled old suit. Now, if I was to see the bloke that owns it, dressed in it...
I'm afraid you can't do that.
Why not?
Because he's dead.
He's dead. The bloke that killed the woman.
That's what we're trying to find out. And you're the only one who can help us.
Well, if I could only see the bloke in the suit.
You really think you could identify him if you did?
Well, I reckon so.
Oh, all right. We'll try anything once.
Of course, the detectives couldn't do exactly what Jim wanted, but they did the next best thing. They contacted Sydney, and from there obtained a photograph of the drowned man, Jack Ross.
There's the picture, Sergeant.
Thanks. Now take it round to the photographic section. Get them to blow me up a life size of the head only. Understand?
Right.
And tell them to make it fast.
Right.
Oh, hello. That you, Mick? Sergeant Williams here. Yeah. Did you get that tailor's dummy? Good. The right size to fit that blue suit, I hope. Good. Then put the suit on it. Oh, and the blue shirt, too. And in a few minutes, I'll be bringing you a life-size picture of the man's face. We'll fasten that on somehow and then take a photo of the whole effect. Then maybe that witness of mine will really be able to do a job for us. I hope so, anyway. Righto. Be down in a few minutes. Goodbye.
Detective Sergeant Williams was nothing if not thorough. But he knew his only chance was to make things as easy as possible for his youthful eyewitness. And so, soon afterwards, he proudly and hopefully showed Jim a photo of the tailor's dummy dressed in Jack Ross's blue suit, and with Ross's face superimposed on it.
Well, Jim, what do you say? Is that the man you saw?
Looks like the same sort of suit, doesn't it?
Yeah, you've got to tell me that.
And his hair's dark, too.
Jim, is that the man?
No, it's not.
It's not. You're sure of that?
Positive.
All right, Jim. That's all for the present.
I can go?
Yes, thanks. You can go.
Okay. See you some more.
Well, and so we start all over again.
And so they started all over again. But days turned into weeks, and a killer seemed likely to go scot-free. And perhaps he would have, if the detectives had not been quite so painstaking. You'll remember I said earlier that this crime took place during wartime. You'll also remember that during wartime, every civilian had to register for national service. And so the detectives called at a drill hall in South Melbourne.
I'm Detective Sergeant Williams, CIB, Captain.
Yes, Sergeant. What can I do for you?
You keep the National Service registration cards here?
We do.
And they give full descriptions of the applicants, eh?
That's right.
Well, we'd like to go through every application form you have.
Everyone?
Every one. They may help us find a man we're looking for.
Well, you're welcome, of course, but I doubt if you realize the job you've got ahead of you.
Quite a few cards here, I suppose.
Quite a few. You'll be interested to know that there are nearly 11,000.
Yes, there were nearly 11,000 cards. The detectives went through every single one of them. The result was that they pulled out about a dozen that might conceivably refer to the wanted man. Even then, it was a remote chance, for the man might have registered at one of many other places in Melbourne. And the next job was to interview the 12 or so men. And one by one, they were eliminated, until they came to the very last on the list.
Your name, Alf Neal?
Who's asking?
Police here. I'm Detective Sergeant Williams. This is Detective Douglas.
What's it all about?
Could you remember where you were on Saturday afternoon, September the 21st?
Eh? Crikey, it's a dickens of a long time ago.
Yes, I know, about 2 months.
Why? What do you want to know, anyway?
And can you remember?
Don't think I can.
What do you usually do on a Saturday afternoon?
Different things.
What things?
Go to the footy sometimes, or the G's. Sometimes go to the pub for a few drinks.
What pub?
No special.
I see. Well, we'd be very glad if you'd think back and try to remember just what you were doing on September the 21st. We're making inquiries about the death of a woman named Margaret Champion at South Melbourne on that date.
Alf Neal eventually remembered that he'd been drinking on the fatal Saturday afternoon. So the detectives went to a hotel in the vicinity of the murder.
You ever heard of a man named Alf Neal?
Alf Neal? Yep.
Does he ever drink here?
Oh, now and again.
Yeah. Been here lately?
No. Now that you come to mention it, he hasn't.
You couldn't remember the last time he was here?
No, I clutch yes, I could.
Oh? When?
The day that woman was murdered up the lane.
You're sure he was here that day?
Yeah, he was. Had quite a few, too.
He was here all the afternoon?
Oh, a good bit of it.
You can't remember what time he left?
No, I can't. Went off well before closing time, I think. Usually does when he's had a few. Jumps in a cab and goes home.
In a taxi?
Yeah. There's a taxi service just down the road.
Yes, we've already checked the drivers there, but, well, we'd better do it again. Do you remember we were here a few weeks ago inquiring about the passengers you carried on Saturday, September the 21st?
Yeah. The day that woman was killed in the lane.
That's right, and you said then that you could remember no one that might be any help to us.
That's right.
Well, now we have reason to believe that you picked up a man from the hotel on the next corner during the afternoon.
From vk3sl.
There's a man who'd been drinking a good deal.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, now that you come to mention it, there was one bloke. I wouldn't take him at first. I don't like driving drunks. Then I got a call that'd take me his way, so I told him to jump in.
You know the name of the man?
No.
Can you remember what he was wearing?
Wait a minute. Yes, I can. A blue shirt and a blue suit. Pretty grubby it was, too. Looked to me like he'd been in a fight.
And so, gradually, witnesses came forward who could prove that Alf Neal had been in the vicinity of the crime when it had happened. The detectives learned that he had left the hotel for a short while at approximately the time of the murder. And so Alf Neal was taken to Russell Street headquarters.
Well, now, Neil, we've agreed that you were drinking at the Lion Hotel on the afternoon of the 21st of September.
Yes.
Now, what are you wearing?
Blue suit.
What color shirt?
Blue.
Tie?
Didn't have a tie. Had my shirt open at the neck.
Shoes? What color?
Black.
Hat?
Never wear one.
Oh, I see. Do you know a lane that runs off Osborne Street?
Yeah.
Were you in that lane on that afternoon?
Oh, might have been.
Did you see anyone in the lane that day?
Yes.
A man or a woman?
Woman.
Something happened in that lane that day.
Yes. Yeah, I know. Been worried about it ever since. Don't know why I did it. Never done anything like this before. Don't know why I did it. I must have been drunk.
Did you attack the woman?
Yes.
And I must caution you that you're not obliged to make any statement unless you wish. But if you wish to make a statement, it'll be taken down in writing and may be used in evidence.
Yes, I know.
Do you wish to make a statement?
Yes. Yes, I do. I'll make a statement. I gotta get it off my mind.
And that was the end of a long trail. Alf Neal duly faced a criminal court jury which found him guilty of murder. The death sentence was subsequently commuted to imprisonment for life. The police and detectives did particularly good work in bringing him to justice. And although he must have felt reasonably secure when he was still free 2 months after the murder, he should have realized that a police file is never closed until the crime is solved, and that sooner or later, the vast majority of lawbreakers are apprehended. Truly, crime does not pay. And for this, we should be grateful to our hard-working, efficient, and determined police force. Let us always cooperate with them, wherever and whenever possible. Only names, place names, and dates were altered in this true story. It was dramatized from the files of the Victoria Police by Roland Strong, who now says goodbye until the same time next week, when there'll be another true story in this series, D24, which is brought to you by the Victoria Police Force and produced in the studios of Hector Crawford Productions by Dorothy Crawford.
Well, that was pretty heavy. I didn't realise the D24s were quite that ugly. It's pretty full-on stories from the vaults, radio drama, Crawford Productions, where you're sampling the archives here. And yes, there's a lot more where that came from. Maybe we'll have another one, but I'll prepare myself for it next time. I was riveted, but it's a pretty grisly tale. We need something light and more frivolous. And you know what? Of all the years I've been doing these missions, I've never played any GNS. And I think it's a bit of fun. I like playing GNS. I like playing in the orchestra for GNS. I've done quite a few shows in the past, and they are fun to play in. They're a real romp. Listening to them, well, no, I'm not a musical snob. They are fun. They can be fun to listen to as well. So I've got here one of Mr. F's tapes. We've sort of more or less gone through all of the tapes now, but we have here the Gondoliers. 2 tapes, 2 early stereo tapes, but we won't be listening in stereo. And we might play Act 1. I think tape 1 is Act 1 and a bit of Act 2. Well, no, I think it's Act 1, not quite finishing Act 1. Anyhow, we'll have a listen to one part of it anyhow today, and maybe another part of it later in the week. We'll see. So for those who are uninitiated, including me, the Gondoliers, or The King of Barataria, was written by Arthur Sullivan with a libretto by W.S. Gilbert and premiered at the Savoy Theatre in 1889. I think it's one of the later GNSs. Yeoman of the Guard, I think, was before it. Let me check. Yep, Yeoman of the Guard, then the Gondoliers. And what does it say? The story of the opera concerns the young bride of the heir to the throne of the fictional kingdom of Barataria, who arrives in Venice to join her husband. It turns out, however, that he cannot be identified, since he was entrusted to the care of a drunken gondolier who mixes up the prince with his own son. To complicate matters, the king of Barataria has just been killed. The 2 gondoliers must now jointly rule the kingdom until the nurse of the prince can be brought in to determine which of them is the rightful king. Moreover, when the young queen arrives to claim her husband, she finds that the 2 gondoliers have both recently married local girls. A last complicating factor is that she herself is in love with another man. Right. It says the Gondoliers was Gilbert and Sullivan's last great success. In this opera, Gilbert returns to the satire of class distinctions figuring in many of his earlier librettos. It says the libretto also reflects Gilbert's fascination with the Stock Company Act, highlighting the absurd convergence of natural persons and legal entities. which plays an even larger part in the next opera, Utopia Limited. Don't really hear that one very often. As in several of the earlier operas, by settling the work comfortably far away from England, Gilbert was emboldened to direct sharper criticism of the nobility and the institution of the monarchy itself. Oh, it sounds good. It'll be a romp, and that's what we need at the moment. Plenty of romping here with GNS. This is vk3sl, test missions on 160, and let's indulge.
pretty maids, for whom prepare ye these floral tributes extraordinary. Do all you maidens love them? These gondoliers are to be envied greatly. But what of us who one and all adore you? Have pity on our passion, we implore you.
These gentlemen must make their choice before you. In the meantime, we placidly ignore you. When they have chosen two, that leaves you plenty. 2 dozen we, and ye have 4 and 20. Demand the joy of Dolce Valiente.
With pleasure, nobody contradicente. For the merriest fellows are we. That lie on the emerald sea. With loving and laughing and quipping and quaffing, we're happy as happy can be. With loving and laughing and quipping and quaffing, we're happy as happy can be. With sorrow we've nothing to do. And the care is a thing to poo-poo. And jealousy yellow, unfortunate fellow, we drown in the shimmering blue. And jealousy yellow, unfortunate fellow, we drown in the shimmering blue. spaghetti, it's quite honorary, the trade that we part. For gallantry noted since we were short-coated, to beauty devoted, Giuseppe and I. When morning is breaking, our couches forsaking, to greet their awaking, with carols we come. At summer days nooning, when weary lagooning, our manner is tasted running, our manner is tasted our manner is tuning, we tasted in Vespers are ringing to obey the kinging, with songs of our singing of angel we When daylight is fading, and wrapped in night shading, with soft serenading, we sing them to sleep. With soft serenading, we sing them to sleep. With soft serenading, we sing them to sleep. We'll call gondolieri, tra-la-la-la-la, tra-la-la-la-la, gondolieri, gondolieri, tra-la-la-la, And now to choose our brides, as all are young and fair and amiable besides, we really do not care a preference to declare. A bias to disclose would be indelicate, and therefore we propose to let impartial fate select for us a mate.
Yeah, a bias to disclose would be indelicate.
But how do they propose to let impartial fate select for them a mate? These handkerchiefs upon our eyes be good enough to bind, and take good care that both of us are absolutely blind. Then turn us one, and we, with all convenient dispatch, will undertake to marry any two of you we catch.
We undertake to marry any two of us we catch. Are you peeping? Can you see me?
Dark I'm keeping, dark and dreaming.
Not blinded, but will you say so?
All right-minded players play so.
Conduct shading, they are changing shortly. They deserve a beating. This too much is made and mocking. Conduct such is truly shocking. You can smile, shut your face. You can smile, shut your face. You may use it by a trace. You can see some, you can see some, you can see some, My papa, he keeps 3 horses, black and white and dapple gristle. Turn 3 times and take your courses, catch whichever girl you miss.
My papa, he keeps 3 horses, black and white and dapple gristle. Turn 3 times and take your courses, catch whichever girl you miss.
My papa, he keeps 3 horses, black and white and dapple gristle.
I've at length achieved a capture. This is Tessa. Rapture, rapture. To me, Janet, fate has granted just the very girl I wanted. If you'd rather change,
My goodness, this indeed is simple rudeness.
I've no preference whatever.
Listen to him. Well, I never.
Spanish shore. The Duke of Plaza Tor,
And his Grace's Duchess too, and his Grace's daughter too,
and His Grace's private drum to Venetia's shores have come, to Venetia's shores have come. And if never, ever bring back to Spain, they will never, never, never cross the sea again. They will never, 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 never cross the sea again. Neither that grandee from the Spanish shore, the noble Duke of Plaza Tor,
his Grace's Duchess staunch and true, and his Grace's daughter too,
and His Grace's own particular drum to Venetia's shores will come, to Venetia's shores will come. If ever, ever, ever we back to Spain, they will never, never, never cross the sea again. They will never, 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 never cross the sea again. They will never, 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 never cross the sea again. In enterprise of martial kind, when there was any fighting, he led his regiment from behind. He found it less exciting. But when away his regiment ran, his place was at the foro. That celebrated, cultivated, underrated nobleman, the Duke of Plaza Toro. In the first and foremost flight, you always sprung at night. That celebrated, cultivated, underrated nobleman, the Duke of Plaza Toro. When to evade destruction's hand, to hide they all proceeded. No soldier in that gallant band hid half as well as he did. He lay concealed throughout the war, and so preserved his gore. That unaffected, undetected, well-connected warrior, the Duke of Plaza Toro. In every county he always took the lead. That unaffected, undetected, well-connected warrior, the Duke of Plaza Toro. When told that they would all be shot unless they left the service, that hero hesitated not, so marvelous his nerve. He sent his resignation in the first of all his coro. That very knowing, overflowing, easygoing paladin, the Duke of Plaza Toro. To men of gross acclaim, he always showed the way. That very knowing, overflowing, easygoing paladin, the Duke of Plaza Toro. That very knowing, overflowing, easygoing paladin, the Duke of Plaza Toro. the prince, and I brought him here and left him gaily prattling with a highly respectable gondolier who promised the royal babe to rear and teach him the trade of a time and near with his own beloved Bratling. Both of the babes were strong and stout, and considering all things clever, of that there is no manner of doubt, no probable possible shadow of doubt, no possible doubt whatever, no possible doubt whatever. But owing I'm much disposed to fear to his terrible taste for tippling, that highly respectable gondolier could never declare with a mind sincere which of the two was his offspring dear, and which the royal stripling. Which was which he could never make out, despite his best endeavor. Of that there is no manner of doubt, no probable possible shadow of doubt, no possible doubt whatever, no possible doubt whatever. Time sped, and when at the end of a year I sought that infant cherished, that highly respectable gondolier was lying a corpse on his humble bier, I dropped a grand inquisitor's tear. That gondolier had perished, her taste for drink combined with gout had gobbled him up forever. Of that there is no manner of doubt, no probable possible shadow of doubt, no possible doubt whatever, no possible doubt whatever. The children followed his old career, this statement can't be parried, of a highly respectable gondolier, well, one of the two who will soon be here. But which of the two, it is not quite clear, is the royal prince you married. Search in and out and round about, and you'll discover never the tale so free from every doubt, or probable possible shadow of doubt, or possible doubt whatever. A tale so free from every doubt, or probable possible shadow of doubt, or possible doubt whatever. Unseemly wrangle. Such complications frequently occur. Life is one closely complicated tangle. Death is the only true we can never straighten our life's tangled stay. Why should we in vain endeavor guess and guess and guess again? Life's a pudding full of plums. Cares a canker that belongs. Life's a pudding full of plums. Cares a canker that belongs. Wherefore waste our careful confusion on impossible solution. Life's a pleasant institution. Let us take it as it comes. Let us take it as it comes. Set aside the dull enigma. We shall guess it all too soon. Failure brings a kind of scheme. Dance with sorrow we should sound. Hop and skip and fancy spindle, hands across and down the middle. Life's perhaps the only riddle that we shrink from giving up. Life's perhaps the only riddle that we shrink from giving up. Then take it as it comes, take it as it comes. Sing the life will come, lest on sorrow we should sigh.
This is a test transmission from vk3sl.
When a man
cold for grief. Your separation will be very brief. To ascertain which is the king and which the other, to bear a terrier's coat I'll bring his foster mother. Her former nursling to declare she'll be delighted. That's settled. Let each happy pair be reunited.
Viva, his argument is strong. Viva, we'll not be parted long. Viva, it will be settled soon. Viva, then comes a honeymoon. Viva, viva, viva. Then one of us will be a queen and sit on the golden throne, with a crown instead of a hat on the head and diamonds on the throne, with a beautiful robe of golden green. I've always understood. I wonder whether she'd wear a feather. I rather think she should.
Oh, 'tis glorious thing I mean to be a regular royal queen. No half and half affair, I mean no half and half affair, but like a regular royal queen. She'll drive about in a carriage and pair with the king on her left-hand side, and a milk-white horse is a matter of course whenever she wants to ride, with beautiful silver shoes to wear upon her dainty feet, with endless stocks of beautiful frocks, and as much as she wants to eat. Oh, 'tis a glorious thing I mean to be a regular royal queen. No half and half affair, I mean no half and half affair, but like a regular royal queen.
Whenever she condescends to walk, be sure she'll shine at that, with a haughty stare and a nose in the air like a well-born aristocrat. At elegant high society talk, she'll bear away the bell, with a how do you do, and a how are you, and I trust I see you well.
Oh, 'tis glorious thing I mean to be a regular royal queen. No half and half affair, I mean no half and half affair, but like a regular royal queen. And noble lords will scrape and bow and double themselves in two, and open their eyes in blank surprise at whatever she likes to do. And everybody will roundly vow she's fair as flowers in May, and say, how clever, to whatsoever she condescends to say. Oh, 'tis glorious thing I mean to be a regular royal queen. No half and half affair, I mean no half and half affair, but like a regular royal queen. Oh, 'tis a glorious thing I mean to be a regular royal queen, but like a regular royal queen.
Champagne Effervescence from GNS. That was the Gondoliers. We just heard most of Act 1. And who is in this performance is the Glyndebourne Festival Chorus with Sir Malcolm Sargent. And I won't go through the list. You can look it up if you want. The Pro Art Orchestra. It's from a set of tapes. 7-inch reels. It's 7.5 inches per second. And these were very kindly donated by Mr. Fleming, who's listening, I'm sure. So, excellent. I enjoy a bit of GNS. I've been sitting by the fire with my pipe and my slippers, and it's been very entertaining indeed. All right, we'll hear Act 2 tomorrow, I think, or sometime this week. And we can't have Handel after that. See, our exit music doesn't really fit in with some things. What we can do is have the last few minutes. I'll just spool the tape a little bit. There we go. And we'll just have the last few minutes of what we've just heard. I think that'll be a nice way to write out. So thank you, folks. Thanks for listening in. And this is vk3sl Test Missions on 160 and streaming online. And we'll be back, I'm sure. Cheers for now.
Regular royal queen, and noble lords will scrape and bow and double themselves in two, and open their eyes in blank surprise at whatever she likes to do, and and everybody will roundly vow she's fair as flowers in May, and say how clever at whatsoever she condescends to say. Oh, 'tis glorious thing I mean to be a regular royalty. No half and half affair, I mean no half and half affair, but like a regular royalty. Oh, 'tis a glorious thing I mean to be a regular royalty, a regular royalty.